I'd like to invite everyone today. This is the first in a series of seminars to look at the important issue of human rights in Cambodia and to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the Paris Peace Agreements. Many people were interested with 2011 coming up that there should be some review and an assessment of what has been accomplished, and more importantly, what are some of the successes as well as the shortcomings, and that we would look comprehensively at this process and look at what is most important to ensure the promotion and protection of human rights for the people of Cambodia. This is the first one that we're conducting today, but there'll also be other ones throughout the year. The other one we're going to look at in June, we'll be looking at the rights of the child. Cambodia will be having its human rights record reviewed at the Committee on Rights of the Child in June, so that'll be historic. But then also to kind of walk in the footsteps of the Paris Peace Agreement, there'll be a meeting in New York as well, and then a meeting in Paris planned for the commemoration of October 23rd. So it's in a way, it's a series of seminars to commemorate human rights, to protect and promote the rule of law for the people of Cambodia. What we thought was important, though, was to look at the Paris Peace Agreements and to see the article that focused on having a special rapporteur. And we're very fortunate to be able to have with us Honorable Kirby. We thank him so much for making time in his schedule. And the idea was to look at this body and to bring different special rapporteurs together to share their views of what they were able to learn while working and what they were able to accomplish. And also a look forward of what are some ideas for future initiatives. And so the format of today is just this in general. It'll be a reminder to the conscience of the country, an incremental initiative to improvement in international affairs arena. And the area that we'll be covering is the origins of the Special Rapporteur and its opportunities, defining and determining the real value of the UN Special Rapporteur, challenging the flex unity, and then finally the moving beyond symbolic to substantive incremental initiatives. And so we're going to try to look at those different areas. We have other NGOs with us here today, the Asian Legal Resource Center. Thank you so much for coming by. And what we're going to do is start off with Michael Kirby for 30 minutes, and then we'll have time, we'll be on phone, and he'll have 10 minutes, and then question and answer, and then we'll have closing or any other comments for Michael Kirby to share there with us and to move from there. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming and being here today in this first series of seminars where we'll continue to look at the human rights situation in Cambodia.
I want to begin by paying my respects to His Majesty the King of Cambodia and to the people of Cambodia and to the government of Cambodia and to everyone who has come along today. I'm very glad to have a chance to meet you. I have in my heart a very strong memory of the time that I served as the Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations for Human Rights in Cambodia. I held that office from 1993 until 1996. I was the first of the Special Representatives, and since then there have been 4 other office holders who have held office either as Special Representative or as Special Rapporteur. This is the first time since I laid down my responsibilities in 1996 that I have participated in an official venue in relation to Cambodia. I have not done so previously because I counted it as important, and still do, that those who served in the office should not interfere in any way in the discharge by their successors of the work as Special Representative or Special Rapporteur. That work is difficult enough without having somebody who previously held the office making interventions that make the task more difficult. I was in Geneva for another purpose, attending 2 meetings. First, a meeting of the reference group of UNAIDS on AIDS and human rights, at UNAIDS headquarters here in Geneva. And secondly, a side meeting last night of aspects of AIDS and human rights. So that's what brought me to Geneva. And when Joshua Cooper asked me to come along and assured me that the other special representatives were going to be here and that the current special rapporteur agreed with the meeting, I decided that I would come. I also checked with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights to make sure that my presence was not going to cause any embarrassment or difficulty, and I was told that it would not. It is no part of what I'm going to say today to be critical of the politicians or government of Cambodia. Citizens of Cambodia and others can do that, but I'm not entirely free in what I can say because of the fact that I held the office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations. That makes it important that I don't exceed what is proper, and I'm not going to do so.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kirby, for your lovely speech and your informational speech. We are so honored to have you present here. However, I would like to invite the special guest. If you have any question, you can go first, because we have 3 questions for you.
Very well.
Thank you, thank you. Now, on behalf of Khmer Srok Committee and other Khmer citizens who are here today, I would like to present 3 questions to you. And this is the first one. Article 17, Part 3, Human Rights. After the end of the transitional period, the United Nations Commission on Human Rights should continue to monitor closely the human rights situation in Cambodia, including, if necessary, by the appointment of a special rapporteur who would report his findings annually to the Commission and to the General Assembly. By this necessary, the Secretary General of UN has appointed 5 special rapporteurs who report their findings to the General Assembly annually. These reports are so much overpowering until the Prime Minister Hun Sen reacted violently against all these special rapporteurs of the United Nations. Are the obvious serious violations of the human rights in Cambodia, such as impunities, the land grabbing, deprivation of free expressions, and gathering, as mentioned in the annual reports of the special rapporteurs, that all the signatories countries, including UN, are well informed, not enough to apply the Article 29, Part 9, final provision, and if not, in what degree of gravity to have in place in order to this article be applicable. Thank you.
Well, it is true that the duty that was assigned by the Paris Peace Agreements was assigned to a special rapporteur, but instead a special representative was appointed. I don't quite know at the time what led to that change in designation. It may have been that difficulties were being found in the geopolitical dimensions of the Human Rights Commission at the time in securing the appointment of a special rapporteur, and that the Secretary General, Boutros Boutros-Ghali, decided to cut the Gordian knot and appoint his own special representative. But whatever the reason was, that was a good step, because the special representatives can be people who are of the highest experience and integrity, who are appointed by the Secretary General, and they don't have to go through the political negotiations of the Human Rights Commission or the Human Rights Council. Less advantageous was the change in the mandate that was decided. The Paris Peace Agreement talked of the Special Rapporteur continuing to closely monitor the situation of human rights. But when the resolution was appointed, under which I was designated, that formula was not used, closely monitor human rights, and instead a threefold appointment required me to maintain contact with the government and people, to guide and coordinate the work of the United Nations for Human Rights, and to assist the royal government in human rights. So if one looks at those words as a lawyer, they represent something of a softening of the obligations that the Paris Peace Agreement required. I can only assume that the General Assembly, in substituting those words, didn't do it out of ignorance of what the Paris Peace Agreements contained, but did it in negotiation with the royal government and with the strong supporters of the royal government at the time, which included China and some of the countries of the Asian region who have very strong views about national sovereignty. But whatever the reason, that was what I was required to do, to maintain contact, to guide and coordinate, and to assist. That's a somewhat softer obligation than to continue to monitor closely human rights in Cambodia. Nonetheless, in maintaining contact, guiding and coordinating, and assisting, I did do a little monitoring of human rights and reported on it, and that is what my successors have all continued to do. Now, as to Article 29 and Part 9, and the question you asked, that is a legal question, and I have not got the words in front of me. I don't have the Paris Peace Agreement. I haven't had the time to consider those provisions in their context and for their purpose. And in any case, it probably would not be appropriate for me, as a former office holder, to be giving a legal opinion as to what degree of breach of the obligations of human rights would warrant some further step. In any case, any further step would only happen in the environment of the Human Rights Council in the first instance, and the General Assembly in the second. Nothing happens in either of those bodies without a close reflection of the geopolitical dimension by which decisions are made by those bodies. And therefore, I think it's one thing to ask a question as to what words on paper mean. It's another thing to ask what words on paper will be interpreted as meaning in order to impose sanctions on a nation state. And I don't know that I'm sufficiently aware of the geopolitical dimension of the Human Rights Council or of the General Assembly in relation to Cambodia to answer that question as to what is going to lead to a further sanction. But your question is a reasonable one, and it was essentially the question that Professor Yashgai asked at the end of his mandate. He asked, well, is there any point in continuing the mandate? In the end, he came to the conclusion that there was, and he urged the Human Rights Council to continue with the Office of Special Representative. They didn't do that, but they did continue with the Office of Special Rapporteur, and it remains in place, and it remains an important insight from the whole world to see what is happening in Cambodia.